Hey guys, this is the Brother XR3774. I guess it's a common sewing machine. I'm actually making this video so that I won't forget how to load this, but in case you need to load one, I'll kind of walk you through it. So this is the bobbin. Believe it or not, there are two types of thread. There's two parts, the big spool, and then there's going to be a little spool called the bobbin. I hate calling it that. I just think it's kind of a stupid word, but that's what it is. So the first thing we're going to do is load a bobbin with the same color of thread, and we're going to make it work. So on the bobbin, try to make this clear, there are two holes on each side, well, one hole and one divot. We're going to actually, when you see me go in later, and look, I'll show you this. The divot you can't put the string through. There's a hole that you can put the string through, and you'll want to go through one side only of the hole. So you take a string, you pull that up because it can come up and down on this. Put it on, and it goes, string should come out to the back of the machine, come around. Now you're going to come towards this metal device here, and this little diagram is going to help show you on the top of the machine where you go. You go under this, and then you're going to come back towards you. There's a little metal thing that you're going to pull against. You can't really see it, but you want to come towards you. Then you want to go around and come back across. Yep. Come around and come across. I have a little extra string, so I'm going to cut it. Now, I'll hold it against the white background. This is where we're talking about the hole and the divot. You want to come through one hole. Okay. Now, the reason I'm saying one hole is there are two, but you only want to come through one. So you don't go through both sides, you just go through the one. Now, also in the bobbin, you'll see there's a little divot. Not a divot, but there's kind of a cutout on the inside of that circle. We're going to be putting it on to this little device right here, and you'll see that it has this metal thing that sticks out. You want to find that little gap right there in the circle and put it straight down onto that. Now take a look here. You'll see again that it's going just to the top. It's not going through the bottom circle and coming through. It's whatever side you happen to be on and coming straight out. Now to engage the bobbin loading, or the second spool of thread, you push this over. When it's against that plastic thing, you're basically ready to go, and we're going to turn on the sew machine now. Now that you have your string held up, you want to hold on to it until you get some string on it. You're going to come down to the foot pedal, which I'm using with my hand, and push on it. Once you get a little bit on there, you can actually cut off the top. Now, it's going to spool until it actually stops. You don't have to do anything or worry about it. So now we're just going to squish it down on the foot pedal until it fully loads. All right, and once it stops, it'll just start spinning freely and it will basically be done. You want to disengage the bobbin by pulling it to the side. You can use, there's cutters on the machine, or you can just cut this off. And then you pull that up, and now your bobbin is free and ready to go. So to put the bobbin in, you want to see that there's little grooves right in here, kind of in the plastic. You're going to push your fingers on, you push down, and this kind of becomes a little more available. Pull out the bobbin if there's in one that's already in there, and put that to a side. Grab the bobbin that you just made, and you want the string, when loading it, to go out towards your left when you first drop it in. So like this. I'm going to drop it in. Then if you look in here, you got this piece of metal that runs to about right here. You can see that. You want to have that string, take that string, come around, so lightly drop it into the groove, and then you're trying to get it hooked around there. And it's actually pretty easy to do as long as you drop it in there. Then you pull it along the back. This is actually your string cutter, and you can just leave it like that. Then grab your top and put it back on, and your bobbin is now in there and ready to go. Now, with our bobbin fully in there, we're now going to get the thread onto this fellow, which is the actual main thread, which most people are used to seeing. In order to help make this easier, you're going to come to this thing right here, this side tool, the knob. It makes the needle go up and down. You'll have a groove on here. You can kind of see it on there. There's only one of them. You want to put this in line with the center of the machine. That'll just help load it a little bit easier. The next thing you want to do is, if you look down here and towards the side, and you look at this, this drops and raises the foot. It's easiest to put thread on when you have the foot raised, so put that in the raised position. Now, just like we did a moment ago, we're going to put our string onto this with our string coming out to the right. We come around just like we did on the last part. Here's our string. We're going to go underneath that again, and then we're going to come in tight so it goes up and under. We do not use this round thing here. Again, that is solely for loading the bobbin. Now we're going to come down this first hole, and you just come down, and you'll see there's even a little number 3 on here that tries to help remind you. It looks like a little U-turn. So you go under and up. And then if you're looking from the top, you'll actually see there's a little bit of metal in there. You want to pull your thread all the way to the back, and then somewhat holding it to the side, you want to come down, and it's actually going to wrap around that piece of metal. And then you keep pulling down until you're down in this area. Now, if you look at this little thing right here, this little piece of metal, there's a little gap right there. I'm trying to point with the tip of my finger, but it's right there. So what you do is you're going to, using a string position, something like this, where you're actually holding it, pulling it to the side, you'll pull it in there and you'll kind of pull it back, almost like you're flossing. Now our needle's thread is coming down behind the piece of metal, and we're now going to have to thread the needle. There's 2 ways of doing it. You can take your end of the thread here and just put it through the eye of the needle, or you can use the automatic thread system. If you look at this device right here, is a piece of plastic that comes down, you push it and drop it, push it and drop it. And this is going to be the device that I'm going to use and show you how to use right now. It supposedly makes it easier, but it does take a little bit of time to get used to. So with your string aligned next to the needle, and you holding on to the string, so you just kind of push it in there alongside the needle. You want to pull this device down, and you twist it forward, so now it's hugging the needle. And here's the trick. You have 2 pieces of plastic. You have this tip and this tip. We're going to take our thread, come around underneath the first point there, come to the second point there, and when we release this real quick, it should go ahead and pull just a little bit of the thread through the eye of the needle for you. It didn't work that time. We'll try it again. You go down, hugging it, around. It's a little hard to show on the camera, but we're back through the first one. We're back through the second one, and we release it, and that time it actually grabs it, and you can pull it out the back, and it is loaded. Now you're ready to load or connect the string to the bobbin. Once you have your needle threaded, you will then, you can see the string coming out the needle, the string coming out of the side from inside the bobbin being loaded. If you're watching on the top here and then you push this down, you're going to rotate this knob to bring the foot up and down so that you're going to connect the two strings now. You'll push this down and up, and if you're looking right inside here, you can actually see the strings starting to engage. Something happens in there and you can just see it occurring. I don't really know the technology, but you can see the strings starting to grab. And as you continue to do this, you'll see the string winding inside here, which tells you that the two are connected. And you're going to have these two strings now coming off to the side. You can just put them behind the machine. And you're basically now ready to sew. I suggest you use the number 1 position. I don't really even know what other positions are for. I think you have to change the feet, but we don't want to worry about that. For most of the things that I'm doing, I'm hemming. And as a tip, if you're hemming pants, you'll want to take off this bottom. That allows you to actually get your pant leg into the machine for rotating it. But for now, I'm just going to show a quick sample. This is just a piece of cotton. You put it under. You're going to make sure your needle is up so that you can go under the needle. Then you're not going to be able to sew if you don't put down the foot. That again is this piece of plastic that's kind of high up in the back. And you drop that down. Now, when you push on the actual foot for your machine, it should start to thread for you. You'll see it's actually moving it forward, and that's what you want. If it's not moving it forward, you've done something wrong. Once you put in your first thread, you have to lock it down, which means you have to go forward and backwards. That's what this switch is for. So you go forward a little bit, you hold this down, it's gonna make it go backwards a little bit, and as long as the foot's working, it'll pull it backwards for you. And now you should have it done. You just need to go forward and backward. You'll start that way and you'll always stop that way as well. Now you would go forward. And when you're done, you push this down to back it up. That locks in those final strings. Then to release it, you'll want to pull up the foot. You're going to find your strings, your tails, I believe they're called. You may have to cut them. But to release your material, you need to make sure that that needle is up. So if you come to the side again, you'll find that little groove, because if you don't, the needle's holding this piece of cotton in. You can't move it, you can't pull it. So if you move that needle up, which is what that position is, you can then pull it and you'll see these tails coming out. One of them's going to the needle and the other one's still going to that bobbin. And you cut those off and you have a stitch. So that's basically the XR3774, loading your bobbin, which you use this, putting on your main string, going through the needle, loading the bobbin down here. And there you go.